Good morning. Halftones in here, and we are in this video going to talk about DTFs and removing the black background and creating halftones specifically for DTF. So you can do this for screen printing also, but it's a little different. And I won't go over the differences just so that we can focus on this being a DTF video. So you got your artwork. The first thing you want to do is make sure it's sized correctly and at 300 resolution because all DTF printing is done at 300 resolution. That's an important factor. If your art is, this is where I see a lot of people make their mistakes is, first off, the DTF is not really great files. Or the AI artwork, for example, is not really good files. And most of any other files that customers provide are really not good files also, that are not just AI. Maybe they're JPEGs, PNGs, whatever, however they got them. They're typically not at the right resolution or the right size. So you got to make sure that what you put into the DTF printer is at the size you want and at the resolution you want, which is 300. So I'm going to check the size here. And it's 13 by 19 on the document size. And that's going to look pretty good, I think. We'll get down to it more accurately here a little bit later. But, and it's at 300 resolution. So I'm kind of good to go from here. So I want to select all because this is a merged flat background with black in it. So I want to select all and copy. That's Control A, Command A, and then copy is Control or Command C. And then move into the next window, Channels. Now, if you don't have Channels window open in your program and you don't know where it's at, the same with layers. Like if you don't know where the layers are at, just go under Window and turn on the Layers window, and you'll see it pop up. And then you go to the Channels window, alphabetical order, Channels, and you see those two together. And then you can click on the tab here and drag this in over top, and it highlights, and you can group those two together. And as you see over here, I have all of these groups. So you can grab the top of this tab. Everything that I work with frequently, I keep together as a group. Drop it in there and highlight it. And now I keep these in kind of an order where layers are first, channels are next, paths, and then my color swatches. So like I said, copy and then move into the channels window and click on a new channel and paste. Now you want to invert this. That's Control or Command I. You can also find it under like it's probably Edit, and I haven't gone under the menu bar for so long I forget where they're at. Image, there. It's in one of these. Image size, layers, select. Yeah, inverse. Which I don't have anything selected right now, but so I'll select that and go under, where it was, I select and inverse. So as you see, that's Shift Control I. And I'm just going over this for the new people who are just getting into Photoshop. And by the way, I'll mention, yes, there are a lot of filters out there, action scripts, things you can buy for 30 bucks or, $100 a year, whatever it is. And you can buy these scripts and these actions that will create halftones for you, but they're never that good. And so the reason I say that is because it doesn't do what I'm doing here. Yeah, some of them do, but not in a way that is as best as you can. And first and foremost, Photoshop is a pixel editing program. And everything that you send to the DTF machines are pixel art. So you may as well purchase for $25 a month a subscription to Adobe Photoshop and use that in your arsenal. That's going to be your main program to use for pixel artwork. So I would do that. So copy and paste into a new channel, like I said, and then you adjust curves or levels. Curves and levels both do the same thing. They fill, they adjust your artwork. You can make it filled in more. As you see here, I'm taking this highlight side and sliding it over, and it fills in the heavier content. Or I can adjust this over here and burn this out. I call it burning out, but it's very similar to the dodge and burn tool, which you'll find over here. Like this would be the burn, as it says, and then dodge. So in burn, you're filling in heavier spots, but it's more isolated because you're using the brush tool. Same with the dodge tool, you're burning out areas in specific areas of the artwork. And this works great if you have isolations. So, if you had just this type here, you could fill this in solid and open it up a little bit to burn out any junk and debris on the outside of it. I'm jumping around a little bit, but you'll see what I'm doing here in a minute. And if you blow up closer, you'll see all the outside junk that you don't want, and then fill it in the shadow tones and drag this slider over from the left side over to the right, and you're filling it in. So now you can isolate this by typing W to get the magic wand tool and click in an area. And I've got it on point sample at 15 tolerance. You can drop that down to 5 and that'll be just fine also. Hold down the shift key and you can see this little plus sign has a little arrow, or my little icon, selection icon, center crosshair has a little arrow beside it when I hit the shift key. So I add to that. If I wanted to subtract it, I would hold the option or alt key and you would see the little minus key on that. And that would take away from that selection. But to add it, I want to hold the shift key, click, click, hold down the shift key again, click, still holding the shift key, click, click, click. And now I can expand that selection so that I'm not getting right up to the edge of the artwork. I'm expanding it a little bit. So I'll go to select, modify, where are we at? There we are. And expand a couple pixels. Could be 1, could be 3, 12. Let's put 3 in there. And you see that affects this area. And now I can paint with the brush tool inside just my selection. I'm not going to paint. I'm just wanting to show you how it's affecting that. Now you can inverse the selection. Control Shift I or Command Shift I. And then you can delete out everything that's on the outside. You can paint it along the edges. or you can hit the delete key. It's only doing that because I don't have anything selected. Oh, that's a multi-layer. So I'm gonna, it's a flattened background, so I have to double click on it to make it an active layer. And come back into channels, and excuse me, with black in the foreground, I'm gonna hit delete. And that gives me an isolation of just that, which I'll use here later. But getting back to my copied and paste layer, I'll paste back in here again, invert, and I'm adjusting the levels. Now I'm adjusting curves. Command or Control M is curves. It does the same thing as levels does, but here you can add points and on specific percentages and increase those for more unique control. So here, like if I just want the sky, for example, could burn that up a little bit more and fill that in solid in the shadow tones. So curves just gives you more control, where levels, you just slide left and right and adjust the levels that way, which is good also, but you have to kind of be more aware of what is and isn't getting adjusted. So I'm looking to fill in the inner content, but allow it back in here to still be gray. So that ends up as halftones fading to the shirt. So we make an adjustment like that and we take a look at it. Select all, copy. You need to do the halftone part outside of this file, because this is all your working file. This is RGB, it's got layers in it, and got channels in it, separate channels. So if I did an effect, it wouldn't do it to that file. You have to click on new and just hit create, because whatever you copied, it comes in with the same pixels, same dimension, same resolution, but make sure it's grayscale under the color mode. And then create, paste, Command V, Control V, and then go up under image mode, hold on to it, and bitmap. So this makes it just a black and white pixel, solid, no gray data in there. But in order to form the shades that we're looking for, you flatten it, say okay, and you want to bitmap it at the 300 resolution. And then the halftone method would be, you make sure you click on halftone, because you got other options in here that it might be set on by default. Diffusion dither might be one of them. Those are used for other purposes. You want halftone screen. Click OK. Now this is the important part. For DTF printing, it's not like screen printing at all. DTF needs a certain size dot in the smallest range so that it will hold the white powder and the glue that bonds it to the shirt in the smallest dot. So 30 line screen, some people do 35, and that's a little too extreme for me. I don't want to lose my small dots, and those will be left over on your transfer paper. After you do your heat set, you'll see all these dots on the outside. That's because the dots are just too small to hold. So I like to use not 35, but 30, or even 28. I'll take that just a little bit more extreme and make the lower the number of halftones, the bigger the dot. So you don't want to go too drastic and make it like 10 or 15 or 20. You want to be close to that 30 line screen range. Your angle I use 22.5, and the reason for that is it's very similar to most screen printers. So it's getting closer to what a screen print would look if you use 22.5. If you use 90 or 45, it's a little too odd looking for me, in my opinion. But that's just an opinion. You can do whatever angle you want. And your dot shape can be round in this case. Screen printers might use elliptical dot, but you can use round here because we're not adding a screen mesh over top of that. So 28 line screen, 22.5 angle, and round shape. Click OK. Now it's done it already. It's up in here, and now you see the bigger dots. This is your biggest or your smallest dot here right there. And that hopefully is on that threshold of whether or not it will or will not hold any glue under that. But if you lose it, it's not that big of a deal. You're not going to lose that much. So it looks like a pretty big dot, and it is. It's very old school, the way they used to make halftone dots back in the day for screen printing. They didn't use this technique in Photoshop, of course, because Photoshop wasn't invented at the time. But back in the day, they used to use really big dots so that they can hold them easily. And this is the same with DTF. It's just this technology right now is the glue has to be under a specific size dot. So it'll be underneath of all of this. But the next thing you do is you need to make this back into a grayscale so they can utilize it in this file, because this file and these channels, because we're working in channels here, these are all actually grayscale separations until we make them spot colors, which we're not going to for DTF. So in this file, you have to turn it back. And if you look at it, it's in bitmap mode. And now you want to turn it to grayscale. And the ratio is going to be 1:1. So 300 resolution to 300 resolution. The same as this file. Now you can click on your channel and drag it back down in over top of your other file, but I like to hold the shift key down to make sure it drops in the same exact place. Now, when I look at this, my halftones in here, and there's my original grayscale right there. So I activate the grayscale and I hold down the control key or the command key and over top of the channel itself. And now I'm selecting every pixel that's in there. As you blow up, you'll see every pixel is selected. And then I come into the channels or the RGB layers window, and I just type in Control J, Command J, and that copies that from my background. It takes my selection while it's selected, and then it makes a copy of just what's in the selection onto a new channel. So like I could also create a new channel above it, copy. Well, you have to have the bottom one activated. Copy that while it's still selected, move to the top channel and paste. Control V, Command V. So it pasted in that same thing. It's the same as doing it this way. And now you see just the colored artwork. Now notice these colors are fading from, in your halftone dots, they're fading from bright color to dark blue and closer into black. As it gets into the black and starts meeting black on black, that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that you have some black artwork in here, because that's actually just going to print along the edge of that dot, black on black. And the same for the darker edges that are along the outer edge of the type here. I don't really need to be concerned about that because it's going to be black here, black shirt color once it goes on, and then this will look seamlessly. So once I create a new channel, I'll move it down below my halftones. Make sure I have black in the foreground here. Just drag this down. You click on the window, of course. And you come down, click anywhere in this window and drag it over to the far bottom left corner or far bottom right corner. Doesn't matter, they're both black. Anywhere along the edge here at the bottom, that's a black. Click OK and fill. Alt delete, Option delete. And that is just a layer with solid black in the background, and this is all of your halftones. So you see how seamlessly it looks along the edge. So you don't notice all the black that's actually printing from the ink from the DTF printer along the edge of the halftones here in this area. So you're all good to go. From this point, let me click out of, I don't need to save this. I've already got it saved in the file here, and I'll save this as a working file. That's my original working file. It's got all my layers in it and my grayscale channels. Then I want to just have this one, the halftone file, activated and nothing else shown or activated except the RGB layers are selected. Like how you select the whole RGB file is like you might have one of these selected by accident, but you really need to select this background RGB as a composite of all three of these to get into the layers window. And I don't need to show this black background when I'm saving this file now, because I'm going to save as a copy. Just make sure it's activated with the eyeball turned on here. Go to File, and this is how you save a PNG with a multi-layered, multi-working file. Save a copy. And then under, you can give it a name and say PNG final. And then you can change the file format to PNG. This is what the DTF print shops need. And now you're saving a good halftone background with the background removed, and it's made at a halftone line screen that will hold really well in the DTF printers. There's never been a DTF printer that didn't give me good results with 28 line screen. I'm just mentioning that. 30 works well also, and 35 is kind of pushing it in my opinion. And then click Save. But also make sure you click on with the ICC profile for your color file so that it looks the same as you are working with. So you just click OK, and you've already done it. So one more step in sizing is let's look at this size and make sure it's correct now, because we've got everything else removed from the background. But if I select these pixels, it'll tell me in my info window. So under Window, drag down to Info, and this little window will pop up. And you want the information for the size. So there's the width, 12 and a half wide by 14.5. So most people can heat press 15 inches by 15 inches. Maybe this customer wants it smaller, but I think they don't. I think they want it at 14.5 as big as they can. And so, but if they did, I'll show you the process. You hit the crop tool right here, and it crops it to the edge of your actual artwork. And you click enter, enter again. And so now you have nothing else out there except your actual document size. So you got pixels out here to the edge, and that's where it's cropping to, clear out there on the end. And so you go to image size if you want to change it to be a little smaller. Scroll down to image size, and you can change the resolution. Not the resolution, sorry, the size. So let's say they only want this to be 12.5 tall. Click OK. And now it's 12.5 tall. So also at 300 resolution. Perfect again. But there's a problem here. We did this sizing, and I only did this just to show you the differences. The line screen, because we've resized it, it is not 30 line screens per square inch anymore. So if you had a square inch and you counted the lines of dots in here, let's say this was I can see the measurement there in my top right window on screen here, and I'm getting it close to an inch. Right there. So that's 1 inch. So in here, if you counted the lines at this angle, you'll see these lines. There's 1 row, 2 row, and so halftone dots are lines of dots. So this is a line of dot. We're not counting the exact number of dots in the total square inch. We're counting the rows of the dots. So this would be 1 row, 2 row, 3 rows, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. See this whole row of dots? 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 20. Clear out to 28 line screen is what that would be in this. You don't see them all because I've knocked them out. But when you reduce this or you change the size after you've done the halftone, you're changing the numbers of lines per inch. So, for example, I'll show you. If I put a dot, a color in here, let's say green, okay, and I decrease this opacity down, so you can see the dots around in the square, but you can also still see the square. So you know that's a 1 square inch. But as I scale this, and let's say I reduce it down, and I've changed the size, now these dots are much smaller. So what's it doing? It's putting more dots in that given square inch. So if you counted the rows, you maybe have twice as many rows of dots in here. So instead of 30, it'll end up being 60. That's not going to hold. Your small dots are still now too small to hold all that digital information, the glue that bonds it to the shirt. And then take a look at these pixels. The pixels become fuzzy and blurred. Even if I made a selection of this, came into channels, and dropped it on there and filled it, you see it's blurred. That's not what you want. You want these hard, crisp, and clean pixels they're going to look like this, just solid black and white. That's going to be printable in DTF and give you a crisp, clean print. You know how everybody talks about, well, you don't want all this junk and pixel data outside in your white area, in your what's supposed to be transparent, totally 100% clear, transparent. Sometimes you end up with junk or gray stuff, and that's what this is. This is when you resize pixels, they become blended. It's called interpolation. So it has to interpret space. So it blends a solid black and a solid black here, and it tries to blend in between the two when you resize stuff. So don't resize after you've done the halftone. Always resize it before you've done the halftone. So that's something that we didn't do because I was not planning on resizing this artwork. So I didn't. I've already saved this, so I can click out and just don't save any new changes. Click no. And if I look into my DTF final file, that's at the size that I need. But if you blow up on these pixels, you'll see on the edges, it's full color or nothing. There is no blending there. That's what makes a good, crisp, clean representation. You cannot take the original artwork and just take the grayscale of like this image. You cannot make a selection of this and come in here into the original like I did and do that and see all this gray data in here. That's not pixels, or that's not halftone. That's translucent pixels. So what that means is your ink is going to have white powder all throughout here, and you're going to end up with something like this. I'll put white down under here a few times so that you can see it on the black background. I'll drag it underneath, and that's what you're going to get on your DTF print. Everybody knows that looks like poo-poo. So that's what you don't want. So you got to create the halftones for it. Get rid of that. Actually, I don't need to save this because I've already saved it. Just click on no. And this is my final file. Again, see how crisp and clean the edges are? So that's how you do that. And this is already saved, so I can close out of it. But that's the end of this DTF training. Thank you very much.